Hi, this is Rex Brandstetter coming to you today from the Coralville Library and serving as your Coralville historian of all things. That's one of my jobs here in Coralville, and I thought we'd go to another level. We've got a great project coming up, and we're here to tell you about it today. One of my friends and my special guest today is Mr. Tim Walch. Tim, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Rex.
Good to have you here. And we want to talk today about a project that you've got in the works. So let's get it out.
Okay.
Let's tell people about it.
Very good. Thanks, Rex. What we're talking about, of course, is that old phrase everyone knows, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, I'm looking for about 250 pictures, and in fact, we're actually looking for all pictures of the history of Coralville, most particularly from, say, 1950, when most of us seniors at least, were youngsters, up to just about the present, maybe the turn of the 21st century, to document the history of Coralville for a history book. A lot of folks don't remember that this year we celebrate, somewhat quietly, the 140th anniversary of the incorporation of the city of Coralville.
That's right.
In 1873. And folks who, of course, visit some of the local banks or establishments know that there are pictures of the older periods, particularly, say, at Hills Bank and elsewhere, and we have those wonderful digital images on the wall. But what we're missing are the pictures of Coralville's growth that from about 1950 or just after World War II up to the present, when in fact the community exploded. We had a great variety of activity, growth of business establishments and churches and so forth. And there's a wonderful opportunity with a publishing company called Arcadia Publishing Company. They've produced over the last several decades over 6,000 different community histories. Wow. Their ideal is a community of about 20,000 people. They want to document the life in that community over time, but it's through pictures. So each of their books has about 180 to 230 pictures. Each book is about 128 pages. It's reasonably priced, and I'm sure a lot of viewers will have seen these books for other communities in places like Walgreens when they travel, or even the Ace Hardware store or something like that. And we want to make sure we can do one for Coralville. So what we're really doing with this program is kind of challenging Coralville's residents, particularly those like yours, multi-generational, who have in their attics, you know, dozens of pictures. Now, we're not looking for the picture of Grandma and Grandpa standing in the backyard.
We've all got those.
We're not looking for Rex Brandstatter's third grade picture from Kirkwood Elementary,
that's right,
bored and disinterested. What we're looking for are pictures of activity, the baseball game, Miss Applebaum teaching Rex in the third grade how to do his numbers and letters and so forth.
Sure.
So that's the kind of picture we're looking for.
And therein lies one of the challenges, Tim, is that as the Coralville historic, Coralville's history was pretty sparse, if you will, up until after World War II, and here's why. Coralville was founded basically on the banks of the Iowa River. In 1866, Professor Agassiz came out here from Harvard, and he found the coral fossils outcroppings along the river, and therefore we got our name. And in 1873, but from 1873 to about World War II, you know, we made it to 298 people in 1899, and we didn't really have any big buildings. Yeah. We had the Coralville Dam, and we had a kosher store, and we had the old school, and of course we had the flour mill and the grist mill. But in 1875 down there, kaboom! It blew up. So we've got a challenge. So I guess you're saying that the Coralville history that we might really see, for the most part, would be, we'll say, World War II or post-World War II on, which is, as we all know, when Coralville really made it.
One of the challenges that we have is that most people who are alive today don't think of their own lives as part of history.
Good point.
They think, oh, that's the present time. Well, frankly, this is now a period where we're all aging. We want to make sure that our time, that period after the 11th grade history textbooks ended when we were in the 11th grade, that we document that. And of course, that's the baby boom generation. That's the period of tremendous commercial growth in the 1950s, the growth of the commercial commercial of the strip, for example. We want to get all of the documentation of the Coralville parades, for example. People got some good pictures of the parades. And Fry Fest, for example, needs to be a part of the book. Those are, even though fairly recent, these are important events to include in a book about Coralville. And keep in mind, we'll soon celebrate, sooner than most people realize, the 150th anniversary of Coralville.
It'd be a pleasure for you and I to make it.
That's right. Hopefully we'll be around. We'll probably have other teeth, but we'll want to make sure we get this. And we want to make sure we collect it. And as historians, a big part of history is not just writing the history, but preserving the records of history. And photos are things that I know members of our community here in Coralville have in their attics. And we want to make sure that before they move to a smaller home or do something like that, that they deposit them, allow us to scan them. Now the question they may have is, are we going to take their pictures? No. The wonderful benefits of technology is that we can do digital copies of their images, and on December 14th, I want everyone out there looking at the camera, looking at me, mark it on your calendar right now, December 14th, 1 to 3, here at the Coralville Public Library, we're going to have a scanning event. You can bring in your pictures. If you got a box, something you can bring in. We'll take a look at them. If we get lots of people, that would be wonderful. We may have to set up additional scanning dates, but what we'll do then is to plan to scan and make arrangements so that we can preserve the digital image. Then the original goes back home. You can do whatever you want with them. Hopefully pass them on to the kids. Or if you really don't feel you have a long-term need for them, we can deposit them with the Johnson County Historical Society. This is a community project. It's a collaborative project that will help preserve the history of Coralville.
And that's an excellent point, because a lot of people have lots and lots of photos.
Yes.
And they say, but those photos belong to the Smiths, and we'd like to have them for our kids or grandparents. Right. We don't want them to go anywhere. So what's going to happen? Let me see if I'm on the right page.
Okay.
Here I come. I come in the door on one of these scan days, and I hand you a picture. There's a picture of a young man. Happens to be my dad.
Right, and this is I'm just going to show this up, but we'll get a digital image for you on the screen. And that is, this is a picture. I'm going to turn this around. This is a picture of a young boy with a pony. And most of you'd say, and it looks like they're in a garden. And you say, well, they're not going to be interested in that. This isn't anybody important, except it's from 1922. This happens to be your dad. It's a long time ago, clearly 90 years ago. So it's got age. It's cute. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It may be a picture we end up using. So don't exclude pictures completely. But we want to make sure there's a story to this. So the more you know about this picture, about your dad and this particular pony whose name was Freckles or something like that, that can make it interesting, because each picture has a caption.
So I guess the story is, you bring the pictures, ladies and gentlemen. You bring your pictures, and let Tim and his group, and let us figure out what we like to have.
And we'll scan more pictures.
And then we're going to hand the pictures back to them.
That's right. We're going to hand the pictures back to them. Now, you've got another example here.
I do. Here's an interesting one.
And this is the second one. This is Kozer's Store. It's got a wonderful caption on this. This has probably been used several times. And this may actually be hanging in the Hills Bank. If you've been to Hills Bank. It says Kozer's Store, Coralville, Iowa, 1903 to 1970. This, of course, covers a long period of time, but for many people living in Coralville today, there are memories of Kozer's Store. Rex and I were talking about this, and we were saying, oh, you remember when we go down to Kozer's Store with a penny and we got a ball card and a piece of gum, or we had a nickel and got a bottle of pop. Remember? Bottle of pop for a nickel or a dime. So this picture is a logical one to include, because of course the caption will talk about where kids would aggregate. And you even told me, you said there's a kid in the picture, you got a magnifying glass, you thought it might have been you.
It could easily have been me. Invested a lot of my youth sitting on the front porch.
And of course it says Kozer's Store right there on the grocery, because that was a place where folks in the community gathered. So that's another picture that's a good candidate. I don't want people to exclude pictures thinking, oh, we'll never be interested, but class pictures or headshots, just a picture.
Yeah.
Now we are going to have a picture of Professor Agassi. We will have a picture of some of the other people like the Clarks and the Kirkwood, some of the early founders.
Sure.
And we may have like pictures of the Coralville City Council or things like that, maybe a picture or two of the fire department. Better would be a picture of the fire department in action, or you know, the police department in action. So the pictures you might see in the newspaper.
So, you know, in all honesty now, Coralville, if you take the period from World War II until yesterday, which is the history in Coralville, there are a lot of just the things that you talked about right there. Now, I know that did you bring a book with you?
I did bring. Here's an example, and this is one that was done for the city of Ottumwa, another community of 20,000. Folks have all been to Ottumwa, and this shows you the types. I'm just going to open this up to give you a sense. This is 128 pages, and I know the camera will only show it from a distance, but each of the pages has a picture or two, no more than two usually, and a 50-word caption. So but you can see here's railroads, and here's a downtown image, and so forth. There's pictures of people coming home from World War II, for example, and I'm sure there were Coralvillians who came back from World War II. Plants. I think here's a picture of the post office, for example. Well, we ought to have a picture of the Coralville post office.
That's what we don't know.
We don't know how long the Coralville post office will still be here. We better document it.
That's right.
But you can get a sense of life in Ottumwa, and we want to make sure we do this. Folks should know that there is no direct cost to the city of Coralville to produce this book. The cost for publishing it, binding it, and selling it is the responsibility of the publishing company. And of course the book will be sold. I can't tell you how much. I mean, until we're really at this point looking for the pictures. We're looking for our raw materials. Somebody said, what is this project called? And I said, well, it's a little bit like Dr. Seuss and McGilligut's Pool. You know, we're baiting the hook. We're hoping we catch something, but we don't know where the pictures are.
And therein lies the real truth, because who knows what's out there. There are lots and lots of families who still live here. And let's say that you lived here, or your friends lived here and they've moved, and I know that the Joneses took lots of photos. If you'd call them.
If they're in Florida.
Yeah, and let me, with this technology that we've got, let's say the Jones family lived here in pick a 1958 or 1965, and we could get a hold of them, and if they had their pictures scanned already, they could just email them to us.
Now we might, the publisher does have standards for scanning, so we might have to rescan some pictures. I don't want people to assume that just what they can send us we can use, but boy, we'd like to hear from them. The most important thing, and we do have a flyer. It says wanted. It's almost like something at the post office.
The police put that out for us?
Wanted. Vintage photographs of Coralville. There'll be a graphic of this as part of the program, but it gives my email address and local phone. And we just want to make sure we've got them on our list of people. We know that they say, oh, I've got pictures. Okay, if you can't come December 14th, 1 to 3 p.m. If you can't come to the public library, we'll make an appointment. If we have to come to your house or a third location, we want to make sure that we see the greatest number of pictures that we
Now,
have.
you made a good statement. You come to the house. That's like a house call.
It is.
And let's think doctor-wise.
And I am a doctor.
There you go. You're
not the kind of doctor you think about.
PhD doctor. That's exactly right. You know, as far as I know, Coralville never had a quote town doctor like other towns.
No.
Because we're the proximity to our neighbor to the east.
Sure.
So that leaves kind of a gap. Now we got a dental office out here, and the dentists are still here.
Sure.
In that same building. They've been here since I could say 1956.
Sure.
That's history.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. That's
and
great.
a picture actually of a patient in the chair from say 1956 or 57.
Oh wow.
Could easily be part of the book.
Now we've got some partners in this deal.
Yes.
And so far our sponsors. And when I say sponsor, this is not a monetary deal. This is a cooperative type of partner. It would be the Hills Bank and Trust.
Yes.
Because if you've been to Hills Bank in their lobby there, they've got lots of neat pictures.
Yeah.
We're looking for. We think we have some.
That's right. Joanne Hora, who many people know, was responsible for collecting photographs, copying them, and putting them up in print form on the walls, and the negatives exist.
You folks, you could go there today to the bank, Hills Bank, and you could see that those would be some great pictures over there we're going to try to use.
Yep.
And one of our friends, a sponsor, would be the Coralville Library, Allison, and her staff here at the librris where we are today.
That's right.
And of course the city of Coralville itself. So, and last but not least, the Johns County Historical Society.
Yeah.
This project's been approved by them. So
some people have asked too about, well, what are they going to make money off of this? Well, the money, half of the royalties, if there are any, from books that are sold, will go to the Johnson County Historical Society for the benefit of preserving the collections related to Coralville. So that makes them a partner, a full partner. So,
that's great.
well, we want to, because the most important thing is to preserve the materials, is to save the pictures.
Right now, they're in all
documents.
families all around the country.
That's right.
And we want to get them. And so let's say that we're going to get how many books? 180 photos max?
At least, no. 230 max, 180 minimum.
Well, if we end up with 487 pictures, that's wonderful, because we'll have a pool.
And remember, we got the 150th coming up, and we really need to think about doing an exhibit, right, on the history of Coralville, maybe replenishing the exhibit at the Johnson County Historical Society. So we want to make sure we have the largest pool of digital photos.
So this is a casting call for Coralville photos.
We could create a website of Coralville pictures. I mean, Coralville Pride extends to the website, to YouTube, to Coralvision, to all of the different platforms that we have.
I know that in the part of the publishing here that they give some guidelines on different things.
Yes, they do.
And I'm gonna mention some things here for if you're watching. Hope you have to be watching if you're watching. I'm gonna give some names of some places and things in Coralville that would lead people. If you don't have a picture of this, it might jog your memory to a picture of that.
Great idea.
In 1903, the city of Coralville, 1903 and 1905 was the final. The city of Coralville signed an agreement to allow the Krandic, the Krandic Railroad that comes Cedar Rapids and Iowa City for the interurban service. And so it was a huge addition to Coralville. It was like Coralville was now in Tomorrowland, if you've ever been to the old Disneyland. All right? And we had it in urban. So possibly photos, which I wrote when I was a kid. I wrote it to see we had a bowling alley in Coralville, which today there are people, we had coral lanes. I have some old pictures. I don't have a good one of coral lanes. I called a family here in town who were big bowlers, and they're searching right now. But we need pictures of Coral Lane. We had a roller skating rink on the Coralville Strip back in the 50s. Roller rink. It was a big one.
Great memories. People actually roller skating, or the picture of the building,
all the time.
or both.
And they had the big windows that they opened up on the side. You could hear the roller skating music, and you could lean down and look inside. It was a huge. We had a Dog and Suds and an A&W.
Oh my goodness!
On the Coralville Strip, we had a famous restaurant called Kurt Yoakum's, the Yoakum family, and he had a giant sign. He had a chef's hat on and a big knife and a fork.
Yeah.
Thing.
Oh, that's exactly
those
perfect.
would be wonderful things. I'd like to see some pictures, if we can find, of Coralville's like street equipment over the years.
Sure.
When I was a kid, they had a little Ford N tractor that they did the streets with, and the Coralville garbage truck was a track, probably the same Ford N tractor, which is a smaller gauge tractor, with a big wagon on the back, and that was the garbage man. I'd like to see those are. If you will, those are fun things.
Snow plow, snow removal, big snow. I mean, anything, yes, we'll have pictures of the flood, but not too many pictures of the flood. I mean, that is, I'm sure people got out and took thousands of digital pictures.
I found some wonderful pictures of the flood of 1944.
Well, see, the older the flood, the better, is what I say.
Now, Coralville had two guys in our past, and this would be after the war. We had two guys really had a niche in Coralville. And one was a man by the name of Zell Ross. And Zell Ross was a landscaper, and he would come when you were building a house. He would come and do the final landscaping, and he used a team of horses.
Perfect.
And you were official in Coralville when your yard was done by Zell Ross.
That's a great story.
And when Zell Ross got done with the yard, now today they use bulldozers and things like that. When Zell Ross used his horses, the yard was. Everybody used to say that the black dirt was just like sugar. And there was a gentleman named Morin Myers. That's right, Morin Myers and his team of horses, and he drove around town in an old buckboard and sold sweet corn. So the rule was when you sat as a kid, you saw him, you sat on the end, and you told him where you lived, he'd drive there. You got to ride on the back of his old buckboard, and then your mom would come out and buy, and it was 50 cents a dozen. These are we've not documented.
No, we haven't. You're absolutely right.
And I don't know that we'll find pictures.
And it's the caption. The most important thing is not just the picture, but it's the story that you've got with it. And what we need you to do is to write that down, because, unfortunately, given the limited amount of time, we have only a couple of hours on December 14th. Remember, December 14th. We're going to have to try to capture that. We're doing a project that's really bigger than the book, which is to stimulate people's interest in preserving Coralville's history and making sure that those memories get recorded on paper and, in fact, in the pictures themselves, and eventually we hope go to the Johnson County Historical Society. So the other thing I want to make sure is that folks know that, again, apropos of the things that you've been saying, pictures about various industries, like, for example, the pipeline, which is a big part of Coralville.
Yes.
Farms and dairies that may have been part of Coralville. We've talked about Kozer's grocery store, all the hotels and motels. We're so proud of 1,800 motel rooms or whatever it was in the sign.
We'll get that sign for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The construction of the mall, various restaurants and taverns, roads and bridges, hospital, or not so much hospitals, but say churches or prominent residences need to be included. The pool. Boating and fishing, the 4th of July we already mentioned. So all of these are activities and events and places, arts and culture, youth activities, community theater. If you've got pictures of these events from Coralville's past, the most important thing is for folks to contact me, or of course they know about you. You'll pass that information on to me to make sure we have that information so that we can take a look at the pictures. As I said, we can only use 180, and if things go well, or we can only use 230, we may be limited, but that doesn't mean what you're coming to show us isn't valuable. We'll digitize and deposit with the Johnson County Historical Society.
And I think another thing to think about here in my mind would be the fact maybe this is only the beginning.
Yeah.
And with a lead up to our bicentennial.
It'd be
Sesquicentennial. That's correct.
Sesquicentennial.
Just flunked right there, and I'm the historian.
That's
We're gonna
right.
have that. Well, so if you don't know the caption, but you came in, we'll have people at the desk down there.
Right.
People will be scanning, and then people will be taking some of the stories if you know the stories. This would be a wonderful time. I've got some other names, some other places to go.
You bet. Keep going.
How about a picture of the Dinky? Now, the Dinky was a little plug railroad that ran from the Rock Island line up to the quarry. And I know there are families here in town that worked at the quarry. They might have a picture of the Dinky. We've had Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. Maybe we've got some good scouting events.
Sure, exactly.
Some good projects that have been like that.
Pinewood Derby, perhaps. Maybe there's a good one of Pinewood Derby.
Yeah. And I wrote down PTA meetings and events. Now, I think they're called the PTO or something now, but at some of the schools. Girl Scout events, concert and plays and events at the schools back in the 50s or whatever. I just
on stage,
Oh wow, wouldn't that?
I mean, any of those sorts of activities.
Even though Coralville really didn't catch a stride until after the war, I think we can pull this off.
Yeah. Well, the most important thing is that we are documenting the history of this community. We want to make sure that everyone knows that there's a great opportunity that they can be their own historians. They can be contributors to Coralville's history and to help us document Coralville pride.
We actually, it's our job finally to get this down, to get this in a book. To start with, kind of a coffee table.
And get ready then for 150 years.
Sure.
We'll be back in these chairs.
Whatever the price was, let's just say,
Well, they run about $20 to $25. So when it does appear, and I can't tell you when because we don't know how many pictures we're going to have or how long it'll take to put it together. But the prices are going to be reasonable.
But what a wonderful thing for a Christmas gift to send to the Smiths who used to live here.
That's right.
Type of thing.
Sure. And in fact, there's no question that it will be priced in such a way that people will be able to purchase several copies.
Sure. I think
all the kids.
What a wonderful opportunity that we have. I brought a couple more pictures.
Oh yeah. Well, let's show them this one here because this is an ideal picture. Folks, take a look at this picture. This is a baseball game, and behind you can see the Coralville school in the 1876 school, and there's a baseball game going on. It looks to be about mid-1950s. Pitcher's about to throw, I think. Rex, you told me you're in the picture.
I am.
Your dad's in the picture.
That's right. The interesting thing about this picture, this is a picture that tells a story.
Right.
And just to give you some brief things, we're down, like Tim said, we're down behind the old school on 5th Street, and there was just a big old field back there. Mm-hmm. So the town of Coralville came forth with a road grader, and they went and they made this a nice flat spot back there. And the Little League kids and the dads went down there, and the Optimist Club. This was their first year. This is 1960.
60, okay.
59 or 60,
okay,
right there.
Right there.
And so the Optimist Club went down there and they put benches in there. This then became the Sunday afternoon ball game in the town of Coralville. Every Sunday afternoon, the Little League played. Another thing, if you look closely at this picture, check out that house next door, which is now gone.
Yeah.
Everybody thought that was a Sears mail order house. But it wasn't.
Oh my goodness!
It was built to the specifications of, but it wasn't. And we have from the historian, it's documented not, but everybody thought that it was. And of course, I have lots of stories about. They're just people up
well,
here.
It's just a wonderful picture too. The composition.
Yes.
There's activity. There's architecture. There's nature. It's a beautiful sky. This says community coming together to celebrate America's past.
And this was, quote, the all-star team, and we were playing Lone Tree that day.
See, and that's the caption helps to add. It adds to the value of it. So you got one more here?
I do. And that one tells a nice story. That'd be a wonderful type of photo.
Oh, absolutely.
Right,
yeah.
This one is sort of a, you can't go to Coralville and not know, or be around Coralville and not know about this one.
And of course, what's wrong with this picture, as we say,
well,
right?
Yeah. Well, if you didn't know, look at the banner across the top.
Yeah, there it says.
But if you think this through, it's 1952.
Yeah.
It says the Iowa City Drive-In Theater, which is right on the site of the present-day Coralville Library. We're kind of sitting in the third row right now of the.
What's showing, Rex?
Speakers. I don't know. I hope that probably Mars needs women or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know?
Drive-in theater.
This was built clear on the outskirts of town. If you will, town meaning Iowa City, and it was along U.S. Highway 6, which was 5th Street, and this was quite a deal, quite a place.
Yeah, and of course, back then, I suppose the owners of the drive-in said, well, we'll call it the Iowa City Drive-In to try to attract all those people who live in the other town there.
That's right. That's
exactly. They just saw this as a place to park their drive-in. Rather than
and later on they did change the banner to public demand as they would come to the town for permits and things like that. That sort of became we do notice this in here, so they kind of got involved.
So it became the Coralville Drive-In.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just this picture, this picture.
But it's the great story that goes with it too.
That is exactly right. So let's think this through some more. Here I am sitting at home, and I've got a big box of photos.
Yep.
And what am I going to? I don't know what they want. I heard them watched them on TV, and I've heard about this around town.
But do you remember what date are they going to do that scanning?
Well, it's going to be Saturday, December the 14th.
Okay,
at the
very good.
Coralville Public Library, right here, from 1 to 4, and they'll be
1 to 3, 1 to 3,
right? And we'll be there. So you bring your shoebox in, and we'll figure it out.
Right. And if you can't come in, or you can only come in and stop for a few minutes, we'll take your name and information. We want to make sure that we get in touch with you so that we can contact you down the road. If you can't come for the scanning day that day.
Now, if you can't remember names and places and faces like us, you can call the Johnson County Historical Society.
Right.
And you can talk to them down there, and they'll give you the information.
That's right. That's right. And we have flyers here too that'll be part of the program. Again, my name is Tim Walch, W-A-L-C-H, and all of the information on Contact Me is in the flyer, and it'll be in the program itself.
Now, I've seen you in another role before.
Yes, that's right.
Where have I seen you? Not that
that's
I know
right.
you, Tim. Where have I seen you before?
I am not Batman. I can assure you of that. But I was for 18 years the director of the Johnson County, the Herbert Hoover Presidential Library in West Branch, and 5 years before that as assistant director. So 23 years. I retired in 2011, and this is a retirement project. It's something I've wanted to do. Coralville is a wonderful community, and it deserves to have its history captured in a book like this. So now that I have the time to do it, we're going forward.
Well, wow, what a wonderful tag we have there.
Yeah.
So, part of the allure of the history of Coralville is that the first real settlement out here and attention out here that documented was in 1836, 1837.
Yeah.
Along in there, it was the Iowa City Manufacturing Company came out here. They decided they need a grist mill, and one of the members of that group was none other than all the names of Iowa City.
Well, like Samuel Kirkwood, wasn't he one of the owners?
He was
and
one.
Clark.
Clark's and the Kirk, Ezekiel Clark, Samuel Kirkwood, and a lot of the guys from Iowa City came out to start this company for the milling.
Yeah.
And their whole, if you will, shtick was they were going to have the bigger and better grist mill, so they could grind the wheat and the corn mostly down to a finer mix. And what happened after that is the fact that farmers brought their corn from as far away as northern Missouri, northern Iowa, southern Minnesota, so they could have it ground that low. And what Ezekiel Clark did, and later Kirkwood, they came up, Samuel Kirkwood came up with a plan that, well, when the farmers went home, what did they take home? Because he said, well, we're going to take our things home. Why don't you take 5 or 6 extra bags and sell it? And it became a real big deal that you're selling the Coralville flour.
Sure.
So that's pretty. So we were actually started by an Iowa City business plan idea on the banks of the Iowa River.
Sure.
And here we are today. We're still going.
Sure.
And I think that right there, along with the fact that the Coralville school, the old 1876 school, the land was given to the family by Ezekiel Clark to build a 1-room school. But do you know what they built?
I have no idea.
They built a 2-room school.
Well, okay.
Yeah, and the upstairs hardly ever got used. In its
really?
history, that's
No
right.
kidding.
I've always thought that was the beginning of Coralville pride. We are so, I don't mean brash, but we're so confident.
Planning for the future.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
and I think that was the real struggle. So that's kind of my take on it. I'm so excited on this, I can't stand it. So we're rounding up my pictures at our house right now.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for all you're doing. And as you say, it's a collaboration between many different organizations and individuals within Coralville, and we look forward to meeting and greeting people on December 14th, 1 to 3 at the Coralville Public Library. And then we hope to plan additional scanning days as we can during the winter to capture pictures that we just can't accommodate on December 14th.
Well, thank you so much, Tim, for coming here today.
Okay.
And
well,
this
thank
is
you,
a great
Rex.
opportunity for everybody in Coralville to round up your old pictures and get them down here to the library. And they're going to have a wonderful time. You'll probably meet and greet some old Coralville friends. And we really look forward to you participating in this Coralville History Project. Thank you. We'll see you again.